Hey guys, how's it going? It's Jay here. Welcome back to the channel. So I've been getting a lot of questions about preamplifiers out of all things. And I thought that people were more interested in amplifiers, speakers, DACs, but a lot of people have been requesting for affordable preamplifiers. And it has to be affordable because not a lot of people are interested in dropping big money on preamplifiers. I feel like people are more comfortable with, putting money into amplifiers, DAC, the speakers. But preamplifier is like kind of like a lost middle son type of thing going on. So I started researching about different preamplifiers and I really like tube preamplifiers. So I started looking into it and I found this guy. This is the Soundartist PRE-1 tube preamplifier. And this retails for $319 before shipping. But good tube preamplifiers cost a lot of money to manufacture, to make, it requires quality parts and attention to detail. So does this $319 tube preamplifier able to compete with $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 tube preamplifiers found in the current market? So make sure you're subscribed and click that bell notification so that you don't miss anything, because we're about to find out.
Never knew a moment could feel so right, could slow down time like this. Everything I needed is in your eyes and in your mind. Maybe it's crazy to fall so soon. Give it all to you. Hey, hey.
So the Soundartist PRE-1 tube preamplifier is quite interesting in the fact that it uses many different types of tubes. So I'll list them right here, and you can see that some of these tubes are not exactly easily found. And you can replace them, but they're just a little bit weird in the fact that they use this type of tubes instead of, a 12AX7 or 12AU7, something common. But they use this type of tube. And other than that, inside the preamplifier, it uses somewhat quality decent parts for $319. I would say the parts used are excellent quality. And then this unit in the back has 4 different inputs and 2 outputs. In the front, you get a nice meter, VU meter, and you get a volume knob, which is quite nice to turn. It feels quality. And you have a power button for on and off function. And that's about it. This is a preamplifier and only a preamplifier. So there's no digital inputs or anything like that for the DAC section, none of that. This is just purely a tube preamplifier for $319 US before shipping. Now we'll dive straight into the sound. This preamplifier, when I first plugged it in, sounded absolutely horrendous. Terrible. Just brittle, unrefined, just bad. When you plug in a component, you sometimes realize how bad it is, right? So I switched it out from my Modrite LS100 to this preamplifier. And granted, my Modrite LS100 is an expensive tube preamplifier compared to a $319 tube preamplifier. But I didn't expect that kind of, it's not like a drop in performance. This was just complete shit, for the lack of better words. But I let it burn in because the preamplifier was cold. Took a long time to get here. And so I let it burn in, warm up, whatever you want to call it. And within about 3 or 4 hours, it started to sound better. Now, I've listened to this preamplifier over and over again. I let it run for, 3 days straight. Make sure that the quality control was there. It doesn't get too hot. And for the most part, the sound was getting better as I left it on. Now, when I left this preamplifier on for 3 days and listened over and over again in the span of a month, I had this thing for about a month because I wanted to be sure that everything was, burned in, warmed up, I had everything properly done. And different pairings with different amplifiers from Kinky Studio, monoblocks, B7 monoblocks, to name stuff, to many different things. And what I found was that the sound characteristic of this tube preamplifier is pretty consistent. Now, it's a sound signature that you will either love or you will either absolutely hate. And I say this because it's a very interesting sound characteristic. The bottom end is quite good. It has this full presentation for a tube preamplifier and a pretty well-paced bass. So bass is not much of a concern. It's pretty good and neutral. Now when we get to the mid-range is very interesting because I remember talking with my friend about tube preamplifiers or tube amplifiers in general. And there's this type of sound where people call it tubby, right? It's like almost you're in a bathtub, right? And it sounds tubby. Now, if that doesn't make sense to you, think of it this way. It's like having a little bit of added echo and reverb in the mid-range. So it gives you that kind of tubbiness and kind of a warm bath feeling. And you can definitely tell that the sound is colored. It is not a neutral sound. It is not a detailed sound. It is colored. And it is a tubby sound. So whether you like that kind of sound or not is entirely your taste. Because I remember some tannoys, right? Tannoy speakers used to have that kind of tubbiness as well when paired up with certain tube amplifiers or preamplifiers. And for the most part, the mid-range is warm and is smooth. And tonally, it's a warmer sound than analytical or anything like that. But we get to the upper mid-range and the high frequency, and it's a little bit different than what I would describe a good tube preamplifier or amplifier high frequency to be. Usually, I would describe it as airy, spacious sounding, atmospheric, sparkly. But this preamplifier actually has a little bit more drier presentation in the higher frequency. It's more detailed, and in a sense, it's more like a solid state preamplifier in the high frequency and the upper mid-range. So it has a little bit of that forwardness and excitement and has less air than a typical tube preamplifier that I'm used to. So whether you like that or not is entirely your taste. If you like a detailed upper frequency, with a little bit of tubbiness in the mid-range, mid-range kind of magic going on with good neutral bass, then this preamplifier may be worth it for $319. It's almost a steal. But for my personal taste, I was not very impressed because I am not a fan of such a tubby sound. But some people love it, especially if you listen to vocals. This may give you a little bit of that kind of holographic, magical tubby sound. And I know for a fact that some vintage audiophiles that I have encountered say that this tubby sound allows for that kind of warm bath feeling of a sound and allows for the music to be really enjoyed and almost more realistic to them, in the sense that they feel that the singer is right there in the room with them because of that tubby nature. And also, I think that, if you have a speaker or a setup where you feel like the mid-range is a little bit leaner than you like it, but you still like that detailed high frequency, then this preamplifier may do you a good thing for $319. So if you were looking for something to experiment and have an interesting sound, a fun sound, also this tube preamplifier is certainly something to consider for such a low price. So that's it from me. If you found this video helpful with your audiophile journey, consider subscribing and liking the video, and also consider supporting us on our Patreon and see how you can keep us independent with our honest reviews. So thank you very much, and until next time.